Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and today we're taking a look at some of the best American-made EDC pocket knives and fixed blades that you can get for under 50 bucks right now, and one that's a little bit above that. Let's check them out. All right, 2020 was definitely kind of a rough year for the world and for the American economy too. So we thought it'd be a good way to kick off 2021 by taking a look at some American-made knives that don't cost an arm and a leg. A lot of the times, the labor here in this country, you're gonna pay a little bit more, and oftentimes you get the pride of ownership along with that, but you don't always have to spend a lot more to get some quality-made American goods, and that's what these are all about. So I'm gonna start out with something that in my mind is really tied to like classic Americana, and that's the classic slip joint pocket knife. And there's probably no brand out there more closely associated with that style of knife than Case Knives. Now they've got a ton of great pocket knives that are available under the $50 price point, and they're all put together pretty well. But the one I wanted to pick today is one from the yellow synthetic handle series. There's just something about this that looks classic to me. It looks, vintage in a good way. And this particular model, the medium Stockman, is one of my favorite slip joint patterns. This particular knife comes in about 46 bucks right now, and you get the 3 blades made from Case's True Sharp stainless steel, which is just their name for classic 420 HC. But with the 3 blades there, you've got a lot of different uses covered. Of course, you have the main California clip point style blade for just general utility. The sheep's foot blade works great for opening boxes or packages, certainly any kind of scoring thing. And then you've got the spay blade there on the end for any other extra uses you might want to have for. Some folks I know like to keep this blade extra sharp. That way they can use the other two for just your day-to-day stuff, and they always ensure they've got a razor sharp edge for when you need it most. But you, of course, could use it for whatever you like. Now, of course, if this particular blade setup is not to your liking, there are a bunch of different options in Case's lineup, including more in this synthetic yellow series. You can get them with mostly with the stainless steel, but sometimes they have some carbon steel options in there too, for those of you who are more purists at heart. Really good, was useful a century ago, certainly still useful today too. Now, if you'd rather go with something with a lock, I've got another Case option for you here. This is from their American Workman series of handles, and this is the tribal lock. It's actually the cheapest tribal lock in their lineup, comes in at 60 bucks, just under 60 bucks, and it's the only knife above that $50 price point on this list today. Now, the American Workman series, they do have this nice red handles on there with the nice American flag emblem there embedded in the front. And it's just a no-nonsense handle that's ready to work, and that's the same thing with this tribal lock pattern. Blade is the True Sharp stainless, a little bit over 3 inches, and it's technically a drop point, but the point does drop a fair bit. But you still have some belly here at the end, so it's not quite a modified Wharncliffe, but the tip pointing down like that, it's going to be a little bit easier for some of the heavier cuts you might need to make. Now, one of the things I appreciate, and I think some of you folks out there will as well with this particular knife, is rather than a hollow grind, you've actually got a full flat grind on this knife, which to me is a little bit better or a little bit more preferable on a more working type of knife like this. But that's just my personal preference. They're all certainly good. But right here, mounted right midway on the handle, is that back lock. It's a little bit easier to operate than some of the tail-mounted back locks of some classic designs. We'll actually get to some of that in a minute. But it's going to open and close quite easily and hold the blade a bit more securely while you're working. And if you need something a little bit larger for your work knife, I've got another lockback model here for you. This is the Gerber Gator in 154 cm for the blade steel, not just their base blade steel, coming in at about 48 bucks right now. Now, in addition to making a good, heavier utility knife, this is also, of course, a classic hunting knife profile with a classic drop point shape and plenty of belly. Certainly gets a lot of use in that environment, and that's aided, of course, by the rubberized handles here as well, so there's a lot of grip, but I think this knife works in all kinds of scenarios. There's plenty of blade length here, about 3 3/4 inch, 154 cm, like I said, so you've got some pretty good performance for your money, and a full flat grind on this knife as well. Mid-mounted lockback again, holds the blade nice and sturdy. And this is not a one-hand opening knife. None of these we've looked at so far have been. This is simple 2-hand opener with the pinch. And I mentioned that rubberized coating on the handle. It's a nice hand filling grip. It's not super slim, so you've got a full handhold for those heavier jobs. Now, one of the trade-offs for a meatier handle like this is the carry option. They don't give you a pocket clip. Of course, that's kind of par for the course on stuff like case knives, but on this knife as well, and they give you a simple synthetic sheath that can be carried vertically like so. And of course, there's a lot of aftermarket stuff available as well. Now, if you want something that's a little bit more fully modern, if you want that pocket clip and you want one-hand opening, this next knife is definitely worth a look. It's a buck knife. It's the classic Buck 110, now available for the last couple of years in the Slim Select variation. You can also get the smaller 112 Ranger in the Slim Select configuration, or the Buck 110 like so. The 110 comes in about 27 and the Ranger just 24. So very affordable designs, and they're put together quite nicely. It mixes things up a little bit from the classic versions. Of course, with the name Slim, you'd expect a slimmer handle, and you've got that here. Much more easy to carry in the pocket, whereas the classic Buck 110 was kind of like that Gator, comes with a belt sheath. But speaking of that pocket carry, you've got a deep carry pocket clip there, which is reversible left or right, which is appreciated here because they've also put some dual thumb studs on this knife for one-hand opening. So with the dual operation on both of those features, completely ambidextrous for left or right-handed use. Lockback, of course, in the classic position there, right there at the back of the handle, and glass-filled nylon handles. In this case, it's one of the sand colors or the tan GFN, but there's some other colors, including some bright colors, which is a nice option for folks, can make a knife sort of seem a little less intimidating for some. Blade steel is ready to work as well. 420 HC, and Buck, of course, is well known for getting a ton of performance out of that steel. And it's got a nice stone-washed finish. It's gonna hold up really well and look pretty good as well. About 3 3/4 of an inch of blade here, hollow grind. Classic profile's been updated just a little bit. Instead of the aggressive clip point, they went with a straight clip point here. In my mind, a little bit more EDC friendly. Now, this particular knife is actually one that belongs to me. I've actually got a few of these. I picked up a number of them to make sure I've got a blade stashed in pretty much every place I might need one, every glove box, tool chest, that sort of thing. It's a great option for that because they work really well and they're made right here in America, and they're priced really nicely, and I really appreciate the combination you get with these designs. Now, Buck might not be as prolific a company as some of the other companies out there, but they don't just rest on their laurels like the 110 here. Although even this slim version does show that they are updating those classics, but they come out with some nice all new designs as well. Right here, I've got the Buck Sprint Flipper, which is really nice and comes in right under 50 bucks. Now, unlike something like the 110, which definitely has that hunting pedigree in its background, the Sprint is all about EDC first and foremost. Blade length is a drop point just over 3 inches, 420 HC with a stonewash finish and a hollow grind again, but I really like the shape overall. It works really well with the handle. You've got a nice spot here right in front where you can either rest your index finger when you're choking up doing some tip work, or bear down with your thumb for a little more power in a heavier cut. The handles on these are glass-filled nylon again, a few different colors. This is the gray, and that comes with a blue Cerakoted backspacer and a nice pocket clip that's almost nearly deep carry. Now, of course, you can get upgraded versions of this knife with some micarta or carbon fiber for the handles and S30V blade steel, but sitting right at 50 bucks, these do work exceptionally well. Now, you've got a liner lock here. It's nice and inset for a nice look. And one thing to note about the flipper here, unlike some of the earlier designs like the Buck Vantage, this is actually a ball bearing based pivot. So you've got some very smooth action. But one of the things that Buck did that's a little bit different from some folks out there is the detent is not quite as crisp as some of those other folks. And what you get with that is actually a very, very smooth action. Now, it's not quite as lightning fast or as aggressive of an opening action, but the fluidity there can be very addicting. Now, if you want something with a faster opening action, I'll show you some assisted opening knives from Kershaw, who builds some really high quality stuff right here in the States. And this is the Link, coming in about 45 bucks right now. And the model name, the model number designation of this knife is actually 1776. Doesn't get much more America than that. We've also got one of the kind of all-time classic EDC shapes at any price, and that's the Kershaw Leek. Both of these, roughly the same amount of blade shape and roughly the same price as well, at least on these two versions, but they come in with very different characters, I'd say. The Link, of course, is a little bit more heavier use, shall we say. Part of that is a slightly thicker handle, glass-filled nylon here, with a pocket clip here that's reversible, but not deep carry. Now they give you that hand-filling grip so that you can really bear into a cut a little more comfortably than a slim handle, but they didn't go overboard. They wanted to keep it easy to carry, so the handle's not overly long. I've got slightly larger than average hands, and I can just get all 4 of my fingers on that handle. Like I said, just enough, and I certainly get a very confident feeling when I hold this knife. Now, if nylon isn't your thing, you can also get some aluminum options, still coming in under that $50 price point as well. And then there's some further upgrades as well in terms of blade steel, but this version comes with 420HC, stonewashed finish with a flat grind in this case. Now, I really like the shape of the blade on the Link, especially as it relates to the handle. The way it angles down just a little bit, there's a lot of utility and a lot of power in this blade. You do have almost a continuous belly, which is going to be quite nice, but you still get a very acute tip. So you're going to be able to pierce very well, do scoring cuts and that sort of thing very easily. I just think it's a really useful blade shape. Now, if you'd rather go with a slimmer carry in the pocket, the Leek is definitely worth checking out. A bunch of different configurations are available. This particular one has the bronze aluminum handles and the Sandvik 14C 28N blade steel, which is a really fine-grained Swedish steel that shows up on most of the Leek lineup. Upgraded blades are available, as well as, of course, upgraded handles, because there are a ton of different variations of the knife, as I alluded to. But they all come with that excellent slim construction. Slim overall, too. It's a slim profile, so it kind of fits into that executive knife genre, and it folds up nice and narrow, and it's not a super scary and broad blade shape when it's open. It's going to work well at all kinds of light to medium duty EDC. Modified Wharncliffe shape, very acute point, same kind of benefits there, and not quite as much belly, but just a little bit out there near towards the tip. This version is a hollow ground blade, comes with a DLC coating, but of course there are other options with a flat grind when you get into some of the upgraded blade steels. This particular knife has a liner lock, but there are frame lock versions available as well. But if you want any of the nicer colors, those typically are the liner lock versions. There's really not much more to say. I mean, it's the Kershaw Leek. It is a classic. You know, if you're new to the knife world and you haven't seen one of these before, I don't blame you. Maybe it is a slightly older design than some of these on the table, but this is not one to be overlooked. It's a continual bestseller because it is that good. All right, when it comes to EDC, there's actually nothing saying you have to EDC a pocket knife. There are some folks out there that like to EDC a fixed blade as well. And you might turn to a neck carry as an option, but there are some pocketable options as well with some, as long as you buy some extra hardware for the sheaths. And the first one I'm gonna show is actually our best-selling fixed blade from last year. It's the K-Bar wrench knife that comes in just under 40 bucks, made right here in America. Now, it's easy to see why this has been so popular, because you've got a cool shape, certainly, definitely inspired by kind of blacksmithed wrench knives out there, but it's also a very usable drop point shape, about 3 inches of blade, and very strong construction thanks to this drop forged integral nature. This area here at the back where it kind of dips into the handle kind of mimics a classic wrench, but it also gives the handle sort of like an I-beam type of construction, which is going to be very strong. It's thick enough to grip well. All the corners are rounded off so you don't have any sharp edges. It's just gonna work. As far as the sheath goes, it's injection molded. You've got some positive retention there, and there's plenty of options to carry this. You can either set it up in typical neck fashion with the hole here at the end. You can also set it up on your belt with a tech lock, either large or small, or you can use something like an Ulti clip or a Mummert titanium clip to turn this into a pocketable fixed blade if that's your thing. Plenty of options, and it's really great to be able to carry something so useful as this and as strong as this for just that $40 price point. Now, as long as we're talking about EDC fixed blades and K-Bar, I gotta mention the Becker BK11, made of course by K-Bar. Just another one of those classic all-around neck knives, great for EDC, great for outdoors usage. Now, these come in at about 50 bucks right now, and you've got a 1095 carbon steel blade, nice and tough, but not stainless. That's why they put this, this black powder coating on there to protect it from that. Whereas this wrench knife is actually a stainless blade. That's a 425 stainless. It's a forgeable stainless steel. But if you want toughness, definitely go for the Becker. Comes with a nice flat grind, and you can of course strip that coating if you don't like it. I know a lot of Becker folks out there like to modify their knives. You can also add micarta scales if you want. Those are available separately. Or you can just carry them just like this. A lot of folks do that too. You could wrap them in paracord if you want a little bit more girth. And again, you get kind of that DIY thing going on. Now at the back here, you've got a small notch that does two things. One, it's a bottle opener, and it also acts as a wire breaker. So you get a little bit more utility out of it that way too. Now, as far as the sheath on this one, it is a little bit bulkier than the wrench knife, and it's not as compatible with things like a tech lock, but certainly great for around the neck carry. And this is also going to work with Ka-Bar's TDI belt clip, which is going to allow you to take it on and off the belt easily without it being kind of in danger of falling off. And it's got a nice kind of retention tab here at the front for a little bit of extra safety to keep it from getting pulled out, but you do have positive retention even without that. Well, that is it for my list of the best American-made EDC pocket knives that you can get, pocket knives and fixed blades that you can get for under 50 bucks or about 60 bucks in one of those cases. Love to hear what you guys think. Let me know which ones of these you like. Let me know what your favorite American-made fixed blades are in the comments. But hopefully this goes to show you that you don't have to spend big bucks to still get a quality product made right here in the States. Now, if you want to get your hands on any of these, we will leave links in the description to take you over to KnifeCenter.com. And make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program while you're there, because if you're going to put your money down on one of these knives, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center signing off. See you next time.